Alright, what's up, bros? This is gonna be another one of my DNA test videos. So for those of you guys who haven't seen, I've done two DNA test videos before. One was a 23andMe DNA test video, and the other one was a Iluustrative DNA test video. And so these DNA tests is from a company called Iluustrative DNA. And basically what you do is you take your raw data from DNA tests like 23andMe, and you upload it onto their website, and basically you pay them like 20 something dollars, and they over like 3 days they'll like analyze your results and give you like a more detailed report of what your actual DNA is. And they use this thing called G25 of Bahadur, which is pretty much something I use regularly for all of my videos, if you guys see. So for the videos of like when I was doing the Nubian DNA and Sudanese DNA and East African, Kenyan, pastoralist, Neolithic DNA. Those videos, I use this a lot. So pretty much, and they also give you your G25 course too, so you can actually play with them inside of Bahadur. So I'm just gonna tell you guys the results that I got from the company, and then a little bit of what I got from G25 when I was playing with my own DNA. So like jumping into this, really what they give you, again, is like what I said, they give you kind of a much like better detailed breakdown of your DNA. So they show you all the ancient civilizations and people you're related to, ancient ethnic groups, all these people who you see on like the genetic DNA studies. So yeah, people, basically all the results you see, like all these DNA studies, they actually can compare your DNA to it. And then you can also do it by yourself on G25 as well. But yeah, so let's just take a look into my results. Okay, I'm gonna be doing this thing where I'm like recording on my phone and on my computer at the same time. So I hope this works out well in the recording. So I'm gonna show you guys through 7 of these different like breakdowns, right? And yeah, I'm gonna just show you guys how exactly it works, and I might show you guys a little bit of the G25 stuff too. I might just race through it. But okay, so here is the thing, raw upload, right, which has your raw 23andMe data, and they basically convert them into G25 coordinates. So like you can download that, and then when I go here, boom, you got that here, right? Both my scaled and unscaled G25 data. And I can take these, I can copy it, copy it. I can go onto a website like Bahadur. I can go on the 3D PCA, African populations. I like the 3D PCA a lot better. And I can see exactly where I cluster. So like obviously, if you guys can see, I cluster with the South Sudanese populations. I'm just like a lot more Nilotic than most of them, and I'm like, yeah, you know, that's pretty much it. And so here you can see like the Eritrean, the Ethiopians, Somalis, you can see the West Africans here, you can see Maasai's here, South Africans are all the way back here on the back. You get Omotic people like right here. And yeah, so that's basically that. Now that we got that out of the way, let's look at the periodical ancient ancestry breakdown. For this, they have 4 different eras that they break down my DNA, right? And then over here they got something that says fit, and which basically means like how accurate it is. The lower the number, the more accurate it is. And yeah, so this is my Bronze Age, right? They got 3 different ages: Bronze Age, Iron Age, Migration Period, and Middle Ages. Pretty much all of them are the same except for either a Migration or Middle Age periods, where there's only like only one difference, right? So what am I? I'm 99.6% Sub-Saharan African. When you click on the Sub-Saharan African, what does it say? Oh, it's Nilo-Saharan. It's mostly not, it's basically just Nilo-Saharan. So I'm 99.6% Nilo-Saharan, which is like not surprising. I'm South Sudanese, so like obviously that's gonna be the case, you get what I mean? And I'm Dinka as well. And then I got Kenyan Savannah Pastoral Neolithic. These people, I'm 0.4%, so 0.4% Savannah Pastoral Neolithic. These were just like Southern Cushitic people. And yeah, so you know, these were Southern Cushitic Kenyan pastoralists who were living there in the Neolithic period. I actually have a huge, not a huge role, I made a video on them. If you guys want to see, like, I'll leave it up here. And yeah, and I'll leave a card for it. I have a video on them. So yeah, these are just Southern Cushitic pastoralists. So basically I'm just 99.6% Nilotic and 0.4% Cushitic related according to this analysis. I get the same thing for Iron Age. It's the same exact breakdown. I think I get the same thing for, no, okay, yeah, so it changes here for migration period. So here, instead of it being just 99.6, it's just 99% Nilo-Saharan, and then I get 1% Cushitic, but they're using the same exact reference, I think. This might be the element, I don't know how to, Elementian I don't know how to say this. I'll leave the word up there. But yeah, that's the description, right? So for migration period, I'm just 99% Nilo-Saharan, and then I'm 1% Cushitic, which is basically my whole results. This is basically like the most accurate breakdown that I get from my results. I'm just pretty much I'm just Nilotic with like a little bit of Cushitic or like Eurasian, whatever. We'll get into that later in the video. And then we got genetically closest ancient populations. Now for this, what really sucks about being an African is that it depends. If you have Eurasian DNA, you might be more luckier, but especially for me as a Nilo, there's not a lot of ancient Nilotic DNA samples that I can compare myself with. So you'll see I'm actually closer to East African hunter-gatherers, who are basically like Omotic-like people, than I am to like some of the Nilotic Iron Age people. But the reason why I'm not as close to the Nilotic Iron Age people is because those are Nilotic people who mix with Cushitic people. So think people are like the Togas and Maasais. So I'm still kind of like more related to them, but since they have the Cushitic admixture and a lot more of it than I do, they're more Eurasian shifted, so it pulls them away from me. Yeah, so yeah, this is Mota. So it has like the different ancient populations, and it has like who's closest to them. So to Mota, you got Hadza, Sandawe, Gumuz, Mursi, Aringa, Kikuyu, South Sudanese, Tutsis, Ari, you know, and yeah, you know, and we got Bantu, East Africa, you know. Shout out to all my Bantus out there. West African, Cushitic, Nubian. Then you got Northwest African right here. And then all these other people I'm not really related to at all. Like the relation really stops with the Nubian because they have the Nilotic related, you know. Yeah, and if you want to know more about the Nubian DNA, I got a video on that as well. Sudanese DNA genetics. This was from the Kulabnarti study actually, and you can see who's like more closest to them. Here's the Savannah Pastoral Neolithic. Again, you can see my video on them if you are interested. The closest populations to them are just Cushitic speaking populations again. So, and some of them actually have the same haplogroups as me. They get the A1B1B haplogroup, you know. Oh, and one of them has the same or a similar mitochondrial haplogroup to me, which is L4B. And then for the Nilotic ones, let me see. Yeah, you see, so you can see here for the Nilotic Iron Age, the closest people to them are the Togas, Maasais, Tutsis, and whatever. Even the Somalis are a little bit closer to them. So these are like the ancient populations, and this is kind of like Middle Ages from 1300s, 1700s. Kulabnarti is like, again, like medieval period, Nubia, 600 to 900 AD. Cushitic, SPN, Savannah Pastoral Neolithic, and the other one I don't know how to pronounce, that's like BC years. And okay, let's go to the next one. Hunter-gatherer and farmer ancestry. Again, this is gonna be a tough one to look at, especially if you're African and you don't have a lot of Eurasian DNA. Because I get 81% sub-Saharan African, right? But look what they do. They say this genetic component is represented by present-day sub-Saharan African population due to a lack of sufficient ancient samples. So they just tell you like you're sub-Saharan African, but we don't have enough ancient samples to tell you your exact things, which is kind of annoying, but like understandable at the same time, you know. So that's one thing I would recommend or I would tell you to like be aware of if you're sub-Saharan African. There's not a lot of ancient DNA to compare your stuff with because there's just not a lot of ancient DNA about sub-Saharan Africa in general. And then we got the East African pastoralists. This is the same thing, Savannah, Kenya, Pastoral Neolithic, the Southern Cushitic speaking people who I was telling you guys about earlier. And then we got ancient populations mixed mode. Again, it's gonna be trash. I feel like I'm really making it look bad because ancient DNA, when it comes to like my DNA, is kind of garbage because they don't really have a lot of stuff to compare my DNA with. But you can see like the most accurate one, right? Which is not really accurate. The fit is 12.465 and like a good fit is supposed to be 3. You know what I mean? But I just get Nilotic Pastoral Iron Age, which is those like like Nilotic people who mix with Kushites, and then Cushitics, and then Bantu, East Africa, you know, because obviously I'm going to be more related to the East African Bantu than the Central or South or what, you know, West African Bantu, whatever. And yeah, you know, so these are just my breakdowns: Cushitic, Nilotic, Omotic, Nilotic, Bantu, Cushitic, a little bit of West African with the Nilotic, you know, and it just goes like that. Get the little bit of the Nubian and Omotic and Nubian and the Bantu, and then after that it's just like East African stuff, and then like cultures I'm just not even related to at all. So ancient DNA is kind of like, it depends who you are. If you're like a Cushitic person, If you're like Horn African, I think, or North African, maybe West African, maybe you'll have stuff to compare your DNA to. But I guess if you're Nilotic like me, you won't have so much to compare ancient DNA with, because there's just not a lot of ancient DNA samples that we have of Nilotic people. And so yeah, modern populations mixed mode. This is the more accurate one, right? And so basically what I go with this is South Sudanese and Mercy. So these are like Semitic speaking Ethiopians. Then I get South Sudanese Maasai, South Sudanese Somali, South Sudanese Somali, South Sudanese Ethiopian, Eritrean. And it's kind of like the same trend. So these are the more accurate ones in my DNA, which is basically just mostly Nilotic with a little bit of like Eurasian, you know? So here I get Yemeni, then Saudi, then Emirati, Georgian, I think Copt comes here, Copt Egypt, and Georgian, all that type of stuff. And then you got the three-way breakdown here too, which is kind of nice. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Then genetically closest modern populations. This is a nice one because, you know, like they have modern DNA of my ethnic group and other East African ethnic groups. So I can see who I'm most related to. And the interesting thing, I'm Dinka, but I'm actually more closely related to the Nuer sample. That's because the Dinkas that they tested were like not pure Dinka. And I'm not saying this to like shame anybody or like to say I'm, you know, but yeah, these Dinkas, they just have like a lot more of West African related ancestry, West and Central African related ancestry, which I don't really have like that, which is why I like and the Nuer sample that they have, they're like from the same area of South Sudan that I'm from. So like on top of them being more Nilotic, we're like closer geographically, so you know the DNA it's just better fit with mine. So the top three obviously are like Nilotic, then Anuak, Ethiopia, or Nilotic people, then Nuba, Sudan, then Mercy, then I get Zaghawa, Gumuz, Aringa, Miseria, then Kikuyu, then Maasai, then Luo, Kenya, Hadza, Tutsi. Yeah, a bunch of like these East African ethnic groups, you know? And well, I even get the Toga, Runga, I don't know. Some of these Hutus over here. And yeah, Luya, Kenya. You know, so like just a bunch of the East African ethnic groups I get. You know? Oh, and I even get Mandinka all the way down here. Mandinka, Gambia, you know? And it shows the distance. So like this is like how close they are to you, you know? So like all these groups I'm like kind of close to. Once you get to like 20, you can still be close to them. Like it really depends on the ethnic group because context is everything, right? Like an ethnic group can be Nilotic, but since they mix with Cushitics, they're gonna be like genetically farther away from me because they have so much more Eurasian. And then like a Bantu, for example, they're gonna be close to me, but we don't really actually share any common ancestor like that. More recently, you know what I mean? Versus me compared to like maybe like a Cushitic or something like that, you know? And yeah, so that's genetically closest modern populations. And then this is the PCA, which is basically the 3D thing I showed you here. This one's way better because like it shows you all the different dimensions versus this is just like 2D. So here you got West Africa, Nilo-Saharan is where I'm at. Then you got the Bantu, then you got the Pygmy, then you got the South African right here. You got Horn Africa right here. And then Maghreb in Egypt right there, which is everything, basically, yeah. But yeah, other than that, I'll just pop up a couple of pictures of my very own test that I run on myself. And the best fit that I get is for Nuer and Iranian Neolithic, which is kind of an interesting thing, you know what I mean? But yeah, you know, so it's just overall, like my genetics is just Nilotic plus like point something Eurasian, you know? And that's pretty much it. And like I have pretty much like less Eurasian than like most Africans in general. Like one of the people in my server told me like I'm on the lower end. So yeah, you know what I mean? I'm just pretty much Nilotic like that, you know? Pure Nilotes. I'm Dinka from South Sudan. I'm Dinka boy to be exact for the South Sudanese, if you're watching this and you're wondering. And yeah, so that's my DNA, you know? But yeah, besides that, let me know any questions that you guys might have about my DNA, or where, like, if you want to find the link to the website that I used. And yeah, besides that, bro, that's pretty much it. That's all I have. And if you're interested in learning more about like African DNA genetics, join my email newsletter. I'll be sending you like a bunch of articles and readings on things about African DNA genetics, how to use Vahadoo if you want to learn about that. I'm thinking about creating a guide on that. And yeah, just join it so I can like send you stuff, bro. Just so I can like help you guys out more, learn more. I'm also sending a bunch of free stuff in there too. So yeah, with that being said though, if you learned anything from this video about Dinkas, me, my culture, East Africans in general, leave it a like, maybe share this with somebody who might find this interesting. And yeah, with that being said, I'm out.